Today we are going to be ranking every single MMA YouTuber based on how I believe they would do as a corner man. Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. If you are new here, my name is Kyle. I am your guy with many YouTube channels. Guys, I got this video idea from watching The Guru and I thought it was hilarious about the idea of him potentially actually cornering Tom Aspinall. Of course, will it happen? No, but is it a funny thought? Absolutely it is. So I kind of wanted to take this idea and run with it and talk about more MMA YouTubers and who would make for the best coach. Now, it is important to note, I don't believe that there's anybody that's going to be on this list that will fall into the D and the F, but there are going to be people in C tier, B tier. There are going to be people on the lower side of the tier list, and somebody, I don't know who, but somebody is going to be at the bottom. I believe every single channel here has knowledge on MMA, and I don't know who's going to end up at the bottom, but somebody's gonna. Everybody knows what they're talking about. It's a very important note. So if you happen to be watching this, do not get butthurt. With that being said, let's start off with Ariel Helwani. It's nice that he finally changed his profile picture too, because it was the MMA fighting on, what is it? Is it SNB, whatever? I don't know. Regardless, whatever channel he was working with. So Ariel Helwani obviously knows a ton about the sport, but the problem is, I don't know about him actually being a cornerman, how much advice he could really give between fights, because you don't really hear Ariel Helwani give any sort of technical breakdown. He'd have a good relationship with the fighters, but honestly, like, would he even make for a good hype man? So here's my question. Obviously, Ariel Helwani knows what he's talking about when it comes to MMA. Does that mean, because, like, should I throw him in the C tier for that? Because, again, I don't believe that anybody would really belong into the F tier. I'm going to rock with D tier, though. I'm going to rock with D tier because, again, this is comparing everybody to each other, but I might move that around. So moving on, we have Artem MMA. Artem he has a vast knowledge on different styles of MMA. This dude talks about it, again, like, in all of these channels here, guys, are channels that I watch and channels that I enjoy at the very least here and there. Artem MMA knows what he's talking about with fighters from even regional organizations. I feel like Artem MMA would make for a very good coach, and he is very, very good at breaking down fights. I think Artem MMA would make for an A tier coach. He would be very, very good at what he does. Now let's continue on over to Baby Sharp MMA. Now, I have a little bit of a difficult time talking about this one because this is a newer channel that I've been watching. What's funny is Baby Sharp, if you happen to be clicking on this video, Baby Sharp commented on one of my videos about another MMA YouTuber tier list. I was like, oh my god, I'm gonna start watching this channel. I started watching the channel, and I don't know how long it's been since he uploaded, but he hasn't uploaded in, if I had to guess, well over a month. So I still don't exactly know how well Baby Sharp does break down fights. From what I have seen, he does a very, very good job, but I feel like for that reason, I'm going to have to put him into the C tier because, again, I need more information about him specifically. Now, Bang Muay Thai, Dwayne Ludwig. Okay, here's the thing. Would it be just Dwayne, or would you add guys like Dillashaw in there? Would you guys add guys like maybe Boss Rutan in there? Even if having Dwayne in your corner, it is shown to be a fantastic coach. I love his Muay Thai style. It is something that I even watch their YouTube channel and implement their combinations into my own game. I've been doing that for years. I've been studying the way of Bang Muay Thai, and bias aside, I believe they are fantastic at what they do, and Dwayne himself is a fantastic coach. Bang Muay Thai is going to be our first SS tier coach. Bedtime MMA. Here's the thing. As much as I love Bedtime's channel, you don't hear him really breaking down certain techniques a lot, right? At the end of the day, though, he is a mega fan of MMA. He knows all of these fighters. He might know somebody's weakness. Maybe he'll be able to have a mental game. Like, you know how we were talking about the Guru potentially, like, just getting under John Jones' skin? Maybe Bedtime MMA will be able to do something like that. I'm glad you asked. Bedtime is one of my favorite MMA channels on this entire platform, but when it comes to comparing everybody else for their coaching skills, I don't know if I want to put him in the A tier, but again, he does know all of the fighters, so I am going to throw him into the B tier for now. Now, Bet Slam with Sam. He's changed the channel name. I almost messed that up. Regardless, guys, Bet Sam, if you guys have not subscribed to his channel, this dude knows what he's talking about. He's actually helped me with my own bets, which is crazy. This dude is one of the most accurate people that I've been watching in recent times. This dude knows the matchups. He knows all of the fighters. He can figure out somebody's weakness. No doubt about it. Now, here's the problem, okay? While he's fantastic at what he does, he lacks, I mean, as far as I know, I don't know the guy like super well personally at all. We have like a fairly YouTuber relationship over here. To my knowledge, he doesn't have any experience in actual hard MMA like something like Dwayne Ludwig, and I feel like this is where we're gonna save the SS for the tiers, like somebody like Bang Muay Thai, who has been involved, who has actually coached those things. But Bet Sam is absolutely an S tier. Now, MMA Betting Mastermind, who has completely disappeared from the YouTube platform, regardless. I like MMA Betting Mastermind, but unfortunately, this dude has been losing money on his picks. So can we really trust his judgment with matchups? That's the issue. Unfortunately, for that reason, MMA Betting Mastermind is going to go into the D tier. Now, Michael Bisping, nothing like having an actual fighter in your corner. I believe that Michael Bisping, oh, here's the problem. Here's the problem. You know, I'll touch on it in just a second, okay? Michael Bisping knows what it's like to be in there. He knows what fighters need to hear. He could do a very good job hyping you up. I can feel like this dude can just like scream in your face and it would work. He would hype you up like you really, really need it, and he'd be very good technically. Michael Bisping is a very good analyst. He knows what he's talking about. He can break down fights. He absolutely would be great in the corner. And now here's the issue though. I don't want to just reserve S and SS for actual fighters. I want that to be just SS because obviously that experience you can't compare to. But I feel like actually when I'm talking about somebody like Bet Sam, he could give me more technical knowledge than I do believe that Michael Bisping could. There's a common, like, I don't want to say it's a misconception, but you hear this every once in a while where it's like, well, who are you to speak on this? You're not a fighter yourself. And well, first of all, like if you're referring to me, I have years upon years of fighting experience. But just because you're a UFC fighter doesn't, and I'm not saying that, and of course anybody obviously is saying this is my own video, but I'm sure that I'll hear about it in the comments just a little bit. You can group up fighters and not fighters together, or non-fighters, excuse me. So Michael Bisping, I'm actually going to put in the S tier. I'm going to put him behind Bet Sam. Now, Bo Nickel, I actually don't know. I haven't really followed Bo Nickel's career all that well. I know if you want wrestling knowledge, he's definitely your go-to. But does he have enough MMA experience to the point where we can really be sitting back and listening to this guy give you advice on technique? I personally still need to see more from his stand-up game in general. I'm unsure about Bo Nickel. He has that UFC experience. He's obviously knows what he's talking about with the success that he's had so far. For that reason, I'm going to put him into the B tier, right above Bedtime MMA. Now, Brendan Schaub. Okay, here's the thing. I feel like Brendan Schaub could give you a technical analysis as well as be a little bit of a hype man. Like, he would be one of those guys where it's like, go out there and knock this dude's head off. I don't know, man. I don't know. For some reason, I just have a really good feeling about Brendan Schaub, so I'm actually going to throw him into the B tier. I'm going to throw him above Bo Nickel. Let's continue on with Cage Side Convos, another channel that I really, really love, watch all the time. But here's the thing with Cage Side Convos. It's more of kind of like the reason that I enjoy Bedtime MMA, where it's just general MMA talk. I know that he has a ton of wrestling and a ton of jiu-jitsu knowledge. I wouldn't shock me at all if he had if he had striking knowledge. I don't know anything, and I haven't watched anything about his videos that really made me show, okay, this guy would make for a good cornerman. This guy would really give me all the advice back and when I'm sitting down. So for that reason, I'm going, but then again, he knows all the fighters. So if I'm keeping this consistency with Bedtime, then I would have to keep the same thing with Cage Side Convos. He knows all the fighters, but everybody knows all the fighters, right? I'm going to put him in the B tier. I'm going to put him ahead of Bedtime MMA because I know it's a meme, like talking about Bilal Muhammad on that, but I actually don't know if Bedtime has any martial arts experience. We know that Ethan does. Let's continue on. Cameron Simon. Cameron Simon is a fantastic technical fighter himself. I think he'd do a great job being a coach, but again, we haven't really seen that, but from what I've heard, or not from what I've heard, like from what I've seen watching him, like heard him speak about, he is intelligent. He has a vast knowledge on the sport of MMA, so I really do think that he would do a great job. I'm going to put him into the A tier. Now, here's a crazy thing, okay? Chael Sonnen. Not basing this off of his YouTube channel, but this really makes me think back to the Ultimate Fighter days. Chael was arguably the best coach to ever grace stuff. Now, it's important to note that I haven't watched the Ultimate Fighter in recent years, but I used to watch the Ultimate Fighter from, I would say, like, since I started watching the sport, I watched most seasons. Chael Sonnen, I believe, and this is just a guess right now. Of course, we have lots of people to go through. Chael would be the best coach out of everybody on this list. But again, somebody might overtake him regardless. Chael is a great coach. He knows what he's talking about. He has a great knowledge on the sport of MMA. He's been a fighter himself. He has it also. I'm going to put him ahead of Dwayne Ludwig. I believe Chael Sonnen would tell you what you need to hear. He would give that tough love. And again, if you guys saw him in The Ultimate Fighter, man, you would know exactly what I'm talking about. Now, Michael Chandler. I think Michael Chandler would be great, to be honest with you. I think he'd be great from the technical aspect of things. He could break down fights absolutely no problem if he's in my corner. And on top of that, Michael, I believe, would give you... He'd probably be the best out of everyone we took a look at so far at hyping you up. Like, telling you to go knock this dude out. Telling you to get back in there. He would really... when you're walking around, like, even... I know this is the beginning of the fight, but I'm thinking, like, when you're getting your name announced and you're, like, walking back and forth, like, fighting out of the red corner. I feel like Michael Chandler would be like, let's go. Go get him. And he would be really, really good at what he does. I don't know if you guys know exactly what I'm talking about. It depends if you have the martial arts experience. Like, my kickboxing Muay Thai coach was so good at that, just yelling at you, hyping you up, giving you that extra fuel that you needed. And I feel like Michael Chandler could really bring on that energy. So Michael Chandler is going to go into the SS tier as well. Corey Sandhagen. We might have another SS tier as well. Everything that you've heard from Corey Sandhagen, from him participating in MMA, him being in the highest of high level fights, and his technical breakdowns are like none other. I feel like Corey Sandhagen would be like, okay, he would sit back, he would analyze that entire round and be like, okay, so the leg kick's working, maybe start switching stances a little bit, look for the left hook, things like that. Corey Sandhagen would stay calm. He would give you all of the information that you need, and I do believe he would be very, very good at what he does. Corey Sandhagen is going to the SS tier. I'm actually going to put him ahead of Michael Chandler. Cozy MMA, new channel that I started watching. Unfortunately, nothing's shown me that Cozy MMA would make for a good cornerman. Okay, at least like when I'm talking about the C tier over here, I know and I've heard Baby Sharp actually break down some fights here and there. I haven't seen that from Cozy, so unfortunately, I do need to see more. I'm going to put Cozy MMA into the D tier behind Ariel Helwani. Guys, Dan Hardy is everything that I said about Corey Sandhagen minus the actual performances against the high-level competition. If you've ever watched anything that Dan Hardy's ever done, his technical breakdown is second to none. It is amazing. Absolutely amazing. Literally copy and paste everything that I said about Corey Sandhagen, apply that to Dan Hardy. Now, here's the interesting thing, because Dan Hardy is absolutely going into the SS tier. Is he better or worse than Corey Sandhagen? I think from a... you know what? I'm going to put Corey Sandhagen ahead of Dan Hardy because of that experience. Maybe that would have a little bit more of an edge. Maybe something that I need to hear within the cage. But Dan Hardy, his breakdowns are perfect. He knows the fighters. He can analyze what's going on between the bout. Like, he would be fantastic to have in your corner. He's going to go right behind Corey Sandhagen. Daniel Cormier, a little bit of the same. He has all the fight experience. If you want any wrestling knowledge, if your opponent has a wrestling heavy game, he would know exactly what to do, how to defend it. You hear it in the commentary all the time. Daniel Cormier is extremely educated in what he is talking about. Daniel Cormier is one of the greatest fighters of all time. He knows everything there is to know about MMA. His strength is absolutely wrestling, but he can help you in all aspects of MMA. Daniel Cormier is going into the SS tier as well. Now, Shane Fraze, and Shane actually would make for a really, really good coach. His whole channel is about different styles and giving tips on fights. I think he'd be great at that. Now, here's a question. Would he line up to these actual fighters that I have in the SS? Now, actually, I don't know if I'm ringing a bell. Am I remembering this incorrectly? Maybe he does have fight experience. Regardless, I don't watch a channel enough to really remember something like that. But Shane would be great. His whole channel is built around that, and it is the real deal. It's not some, like, you know how you see some of those TikTok pages, right? They are fight tips that you can carry with you throughout your whole life. I believe he is an S tier coach. I'm going to put him in front of Bet Sam, okay? Fighter and the Kid. Yeah, Brandon Shaw with the addition of Brian Callen, but would Brian Callen really offer anything that Brendan can't? I don't think so. For that reason, I'm going to put him right with Thick Boy. But is it better to have two people than one? No, I feel like Brendan Shaw would be better, a little bit better solo, so I'm going to keep it at that. Helen Yee. Now, we know that Helen's a swimmer. We know that Helen knows all of the fighters, but to what extent can Helen really coach you and give any analytical opinion? For that reason, I don't think that she stacks up to a lot of other people on this list. I'm actually going to put her in the D tier right behind Ariel Helwani. Now, Hopero MMA. This one's tough. It's, again, like talking about like bedtime, cage side convos. It's more of entertainment on the channel. So I know we get the predictions, and those are pretty good. It's just the problem is I don't watch all of Hoppero's breakdowns. I usually go to the other videos, but I have seen it here and there. For that reason, I'm going to put him ahead of Cage Side Convos and Bedtime MMA because I know we get the solid prediction videos out of them. And again, I'm not saying that doesn't happen on the other channels, but I've seen it more often from Hoppero, to be honest with you. Now, the Jackson podcast, Rampage Jackson, if you want to continue on with anybody else that Rampage has on, they'd be great to have in your corner. All the experience in the world, all the technique in the world, the hype that you would need, the kind of aggressive guys. I'm going to put the Jackson podcast, actually, I'm going to put it in the S tier. I'm going to put it I'm going to put it in front of Shane Frazen, top of S tier so far. Now, Jake Gerbert, MMA. Now, my initial thought was to say, okay, well, this is a guy that knows what he's talking about, but that's the vast majority of the people that we're talking about right here. But I have seen enough from Jake Gerbert of breaking down fights to know that, like, he would be able to give me some solid advice if I was ever in the cage and I needed him in my corner. I think he's great at what he does. So for that reason, I'm going to put him in the A tier. I'm going to put him right behind Artem MMA. Now, Jamal Hill, you have that UFC experience. He would hype you up pretty well, but honestly, would Jamal Hill really be a technical coach? Like, would he give you any advice on, like, okay, this is what you need to do, like I was talking with Corey Sandhagen, all right, switch stances, throw the left hook, follow that up with a low kick? Or would Jamal Hill just walk up and go, all right, time to whoop him? Like, that's my issue. I feel like Jamal Hill would just be like, all right, knock this dude out. That's the advice. He has the UFC experience, but I actually don't think that he would stack up to anybody else that we're talking about. And I'm not saying this is a Jamal Hill hater. I know it's cool right now for a lot of people to just hate on Jamal Hill. I'm not one of those guys. I enjoy Jamal Hill. But the problem is, I don't think that he stacks up truthfully. I'm going to throw him to the B tier, right behind, or right in front of Bo Nickel. Now, James Lynch. This is an interesting one. I actually don't know much about James's, like, technical breakdowns. We have a lot of fighter interviews. He's very knowledgeable about all these fighters. That would be very helpful because he would probably know somebody's style or maybe perhaps their weakness. But I don't know if I've really watched James break down anything or give any advice that would kind of just make me think, okay, this guy would be great to have in the corner. I'm unsure. For that reason, I'm going to throw him into the C tier. I'm going to throw him right behind Baby Sharp MMA. Now, Jesse on Fire. We know the martial arts experience is there. We know that he has been in the sport, following the sport for a very, very long time. I'm going to throw Jesse on Fire at the bottom of B tier. Now, Johnny K Picks, a channel that I started watching a little bit, not too long ago, and I haven't been keeping up, to be honest with you, but the content's fantastic over there. The breakdowns are really, really nice. The issue with this is kind of like I was talking about Baby Sharp. I need to see more. That's my own issue. So for that reason, I'm going to also throw Johnny K into the C tier. I'm going to throw him ahead of Baby Sharp. Now, Joe Rogan. We know that Joe Rogan is one of those guys who could really have some advice on any weakness that my opponents might have. He knows all aspects of MMA. He has all the experience. He's been around this sport more so than a lot of people on this list. I think Joe Rogan would do a good job, but I don't think he would do a great job compared to like the S tier guys. So I'm going to throw Joe Rogan into the A tier right ahead of Artem MMA. Okay, Kelvin Gastelum. I don't know how Kelvin would be as a coach. I actually don't. I mean, I love Kelvin Gastelum. Like, he's one of my favorite fighters. But would you trust anybody who is... I don't know. He has the technique. He has the boxing. He has the wrestling. But my worry is, like, he has trouble kind of, like, disciplining himself. But would that really matter in a coaching scenario? I don't really know. You could look at it from a perspective where it's like, okay, he's being lazy in his diet. Is he going to be lazy in the tape study? But I don't know, like, am I looking too deep into that? Kelvin Gastelum is a great fighter. He's a really, really good fighter. I'm going to put him into the B tier behind Brendan Schaub. Keon Kimura. I actually think Keon would be great. From his videos breaking down exactly how good fighters are, his tape study would be perfect. He can come up with some great game plans, and in the octagon, he would be able to tell you how to adjust. I actually think he'd make for a really good coach. Really, really good coach. Guys, I'm going to put Keon Kimura into the S tier. I'm going to put him at the bottom of S tier. No, you know what? I'm going to put him ahead of Michael Bisping. I think he can analyze stuff better than Michael Bisping, okay? Left Lane MMA. Again, another one of the same kind of issues where I know this guy knows all of the fighters, but I haven't watched anything over from Left Lane that makes me think, okay, this guy's going to be a pretty good coach. But knowing all of the fighters and having the knowledge that he does would definitely help. I'm going to put him ahead of Jesse on fire. I think that's an okay spot for him. Now, moving on to Leo Cooper. Again, we have more of the exact same issue. I don't want to get caught up repeating myself, so I'm also going to throw Leo Cooper along with all these guys. Obviously, the knowledge is there. Obviously. But would it really help with coaching? I'm honestly not so sure. So I'm going to put Leo Cooper, actually, I'm going to put him right behind Left Lane MMA. Now, Lucas Tracy MMA, here's the problem. Kind of like we were talking about MMA betting mastermind. We know that Lucas Tracy doesn't exactly pick fights the best, but I mean, how much of that do you really want to take into consideration? Because he knows fighters' game plans, he knows their strengths, he knows their weaknesses. I feel like he can hype you up. I feel like he can hype you up where it's like, yeah, you know how he does it. I'm not very good at impressions, but I feel like Lucas Tracy would do a good job. I feel like he can hype you up. He knows probably just as much about the sport as anybody on this list. He is a diehard fan. I'm actually going to put him right behind. Okay, here's the thing. I'm going to move Brennan Schaub up to the bottom of A tier because I keep putting people behind him. So I think that means we need to move him up into the A tier because obviously I don't think of him the same way as I think about everybody in the B tier. So Lucas Tracy MMA is going to run the B tier. That's where we're putting him. Now, Luke Thomas. I kind of look at him like I look at Ariel Helwani. I'm not, and again, like when I'm putting people in C and D tier, guys, first of all, nothing wrong with C tier. When I'm putting people in D tier, again, these are all channels that I watch. No issue with it whatsoever. So, Luke Thomas, I'm going to put with Ariel Helwani. Same kind of like deal with me. Now, Max Holloway. I don't know why, guys. I feel like Max Holloway as a fighter wouldn't be as good of a coach as everybody else on this list. I feel like he would just, his advice to you in the corner would kind of be like, all right, bash his face up. I feel like that's what it would be. Like, who did we say that about earlier? Jamal Hill. I feel like his advice would be similar to that. If we're training with him, that'd be great, but I'm talking about cornermen over here. I'm talking about somebody I need information in between rounds. Max Holloway would be like, all right, point to the ground, go get him. Something like that. I know I'm exaggerating, but I don't know. I don't think that Max Holloway would stack up to the rest of the fighters on this list, and for that reason, I'm going to actually put him, but he is a fighter, so I'm going to put him right below Bo Nickel. Demetrius Johnson. Guys, from his breakdowns, from being one of the arguable GOATs of the sport, from all of the wins that he has, watching his technical breakdowns on anything, like, this is the guy that you want. This is absolutely the guy that you want. He can hype you up. He can do everything. Here's the question. Is he a better coach than Chael Sonnen? I got such a positive feeling. Guys, I'm not going to put Mighty Mouse ahead of Chael. From what I've seen on The Ultimate Fighter and just the way that I can imagine Chael being with you, I think that Chael would be the perfect cornerman. But Demetrius Johnson also would be. Like, this is neck and neck. I'm going to put him right behind Chael Sonnen. I think that's a very good spot for him. Now, MMA Che, he does a great job diving into different styles and matchups. But again, I would need to see more from like, okay, this, you know what, like this would make for a really, really good coach. But it is a little bit more than what we see from the typical, like, and I don't mean to be disrespectful when I say this. Like, I hope it doesn't come off that way because truthfully, it's not how I mean it. Like, when I'm talking about like the entertainment side of stuff, obviously not everybody provides technical breakdowns, right? I just hope that didn't come out wrong. I've seen a little bit more than I have from a lot of different entertainment channels. I'm going to put him at the bottom of A tier. I think he'd do a pretty good job, okay? MMA experts. I think AJ would be great. We know that AJ can fight. AJ knows the styles. I feel like AJ I feel like would hype you up in your corner really well. I think he would. He would give you the technicals. He would give you the technical advice that you would need to hear, and he would hype you up. I'm going to also put him into the A tier. I'm actually going to put him ahead of MMA Che. I think he'd do a really, really good job. MMA fortune teller. If you guys have been watching the channel, you would know that I am a big fan of this guy's content. If you want to talk about diving into fights as deep as they could possibly go, I think he does a phenomenal job. He is, I'd have to really think about it, but he is my favorite. Yeah, no, he's my favorite prediction channel out of all YouTube. I never miss a video from MMA fortune teller. I love the way he breaks down fights. I love the way that he's involved in the lifestyle of MMA. He knows pretty well everything there is to know about MMA. The only thing that I don't know is his own fighting experience. Regardless, I would be comfortable with this person in my corner because of the knowledge of the sport that he has and the advice that he'd be able to give me. I think he'd do a really, really good job. I'm going to put him into the S tier right behind Shane Frazen. That's where I'm going to throw MMA fortune teller, okay? MMA Guru. Guys, I actually think Guru would do a great job too. We know, like, if you've ever watched any of his breakdown videos, and he was even talking about this with the idea of cornering for Aspinall, he could give some technical advice. He knows these fighters probably more than anybody on this list. I would say. Dude lives and breathes MMA. He's great. I think he'd be able to give great advice. In between rounds, he analyzes everything that there needs to be done. If you ever listen to any of his reaction videos, he gives the commentary on what different fighters need to do. He'd be great. I almost want to put him in the S tier, but no. I'm reserving the S tier, honestly, guys, for the guys that also have that MMA experience. But he is an S tier. I'm going to put him right ahead of Rampage Jackson. He is going to run the S tier for now. Continuing on, we have MMA Joey. This is really tough. I straight up don't have a clue how he would be in a corner. He knows what he's talking about in MMA. If you're fighting somebody like Colby Covington, he would get more hyped up than anything. If you're fighting Sean Strickland or Colby Covington, the dude would go bonkers and give you all the hype that you need. I actually don't know. I have no clue. I'm going to throw him in the C tier. I'm going to throw him behind James Lynch, okay? MMA on point. I mean, what am I supposed to say? I have this for other tiers videos, but it's not a channel that we can talk about. So this one's going to go at the bottom, okay? Money Moicano. I don't know much about, and I actually don't know if Money Moicano or Renato Moicano actually does breakdown videos at all. I don't know that about him. I just realized that this looks like it's one logo, the MMA Guru Lee Jackson podcast. I don't know. I would need to see more from him. I don't know. For that reason, I'm also going to put Money Moicano. Actually, but he is a fighter, so I'm going to put him into the B tier. But I feel like I'm going to put him right behind Bo Nickel. That's where I'm going to throw Renato Moicano. Now, Nina Drama, what's she gonna say? How's she going to hype you up? No. There's nothing that she could, like, she doesn't know the sport. And she would be like, yay, go get him. D tier, unfortunately. D tier. But where in the D tier are we going to throw? Actually, I'm going to throw her like right below MMA Betting Mastermind, okay? Pound for pound with Kamaru and Henry. Guys, how could you ask for better than Kamaru Usman and Henry Cejudo? Both of them can break down fights. Both of them have championship and borderline GOAT level in their division. And if you want to talk about like one of the greatest combat sports athletes of all time, you even have an Olympian in there. This is almost the best that you could get, having these two cornering you. Now, here's the question. Are these two cornering you because these are two people now? Two. That's like taking two Mighty Mouses and two Chael Sonnens. Actually, guys, we have a takeover. Henry Cejudo and Kamaru Usman together would give you all the advice that you need, and they would make for the best cornerman. They're going at the top of S tier. Continuing on, Ronin MMA. He has an extensive knowledge about the sport, about all of the fighters. His breakdowns are great. I think he knows enough about the sport, and I think that he would be able to keep calm, do what he needs to do in a MMA fight. I think that he would do a good job. I'm going to put him into the A tier. I'm going to put Ronin MMA right behind Artem. I think it's a good spot for him. Now, Running Mouth MMA, those guys know what they're talking about. A little bit more on the, it's one of those like crossbreeds between entertainment and knowledge. I haven't watched them nearly as much as a lot of guys on this list, but they do know what they're talking about. For that reason, I'm going to put them into the B tier. I'm going to put them right ahead of Hopero MMA. Let's continue on over to Shameless MMA. Unfortunately, there's not a ton that I can say there because it's more so kind of like the channels that I have lined up in B tier over here. For that reason, I'm going to also throw them into the B tier. The Schmo. Now, for some reason, I think that the Schmo has martial arts experience, but I'm not sure about that at all. I can't really speak on the Schmo. He interviews all the fighters. He knows the sport, but I can't say for sure. So I'm going to throw the Schmo actually at the bottom of C tier. Now, Skate Tank MMA. Now, this is a channel that also knows what they're talking about, but I need to see a little bit more from the predictions, to be honest with you. It's another channel that I just need to watch more of. I'm going to also throw Skate Tank MMA into the B tier. I'm going to throw right in front of Shameless MMA. Now, the Weasel. The Weasel is somebody who can give you that technical breakdown. Kind of like, actually, I kind of think of the Weasel at the same level as I do with Keon Kimura if both of them happen to be in my MMA corner. I think that both of them are very good at breaking things down technically. I just wish that I knew if the Weasel had any sort of experience. He's very knowledgeable as well about point scoring. You could work at it that way too. So for that reason, maybe I'll throw him ahead of Keon Kimura. I actually will do that. Oh, do I throw him in front of Bets? Yeah, I think I'm going to throw him in front of Bet Sam. That's where I'm going to throw him, right behind the MMA fortune teller. That's where I'm going to throw the Weasel. Let's continue on to Alexander Volkanovski. In my opinion, arguably the GOAT of the sport. This is everything that you would ever want in a coach. There's nothing more to say about Alexander Volkanovski. I am putting him right behind Bang Muay Thai. You would absolutely want Alexander Volkanovski. No, I'm going to put him in front of Bang Muay Thai. In front. That's where we're gonna put Alexander Volkanovski. Fantastic. You wouldn't want anybody else in your corner. Let's continue on to we want picks. To have Angelo and Jacob there, I would say it's better to have Angelo. I mean, you could include Artem in there, right? You could include Artem, but regardless, we're gonna run with Angelo and Jacob for this. Jacob, I feel like, would be a little bit less help than Angelo, but Jacob also knows what he's talking about in the sport. Don't get me wrong. Angelo can break things down technically. Angelo has the wrestling experience. I think they'd be good. I think they'd be really good. I'm going to put them in A tier. I'm actually going to put them right behind Artem because, again, I think Artem has that extra little knowledge about the fighters compared to the other two. But then again, you could say that Angelo has the wrestling knowledge. I don't know if Artem MMA has had any MMA experience, let's say. Also, I just realized that I'm blocking MMHA over here. We're going to move my face cam back down there. Excuse me. And finally, the weighing in podcast with Josh Thompson and John McCarthy. You have a ref in there, somebody who's watched all of the sport, commentating, understands the sport, has experience himself, and then you have Josh Thompson, who's a UFC fighter. That's kind of like, and I don't want to be rude, like I don't mean to knock off Henry Cejudo and Kamaru Usman, but it's kind of the same deal here. You have two fantastic people that you would want in your corner. That's worth more than a lot of just one guy. I'm going to put this one also into the SS tier, but I'm going to put weighing in at the bottom of SS tier. I think John McCarthy and Josh Thompson would make for fantastic cornermen, and I think they would bounce off of each other very well. So this is the official tier list ranking of how I believe MMA YouTubers would perform as coaches within an MMA fight. I'm shocked that I put Kamaru Usman and Henry Cejudo, but maybe when here's the thing, when I make these MMA YouTuber videos, I just have a folder I put them in, so it didn't cross my mind to think of Kamaru Usman and Henry Cejudo, but I don't think that you can beat those. But the top row is pound for pound with Kamaru Usman and Henry Cejudo, Chael Sonnen, Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson, Alexander Volkanovski, Bang Muay Thai, Corey Sandhagen, Dan Hardy, Michael Chandler, Daniel Cormier, weighing in with John McCarthy and Josh Thompson. Guys, I would love to know what you think about it down below. Thank you so much for being here and watching. If you want to continue watching more MMA YouTube tier lists, we do have more videos over here. I would love to have you guys over there. Take care, everybody.